It was said by one of the police officers who had been in the business for over 30 years that this was the most brutal case he had ever seen. Two parents sitting in their living room quietly watching TV when their two sons come in and brutally murder them. What did these two parents do to deserve this? What was the reasoning? This case has never been about guilt or innocence. This case is about why did this happen? And why did it happen? Let's find out right now. Happy Wicked Wednesday, my Cajun cuties. Yes, it's me, Anne-Marie, aka the Cajun Crime Queen from Carencro, Louisiana. Cajun born, Cajun bred, and when I die, I'll be Cajun dead. I hope after this video that you like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne-Marie. I hope you have a beverage. I hope you have a snuggle partner or a snuggle fur partner. Those are the best, and you're ready to hear a true crime story with yours truly. And as always, I want to know, are y'all drinking that water? Are you staying hydrated? Are y'all getting those tickers up? Remember, just a quick 20, 30-minute walk, especially first thing in the morning, get those endorphins up, and you're going to have an amazing, wonderful day, I promise you. And I want to thank all of y'all for joining me tonight on Wicked Wednesday as we get into part 3 of this case. And I thought I knew everything about the Menendez case. But I found out even more new details about what happened in this family. And I want to tell you that it is horrendous what I found out about Jose Menendez. Horrible things. But let's get into it now. California has had several murders throughout the years. We have the Manson murders in 1969. We have Dorothy Stratton in 1980. We have the Wonderland murders in 1981. We had the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, in 1984. And now, here it is, 1989. But the difference in this case is this was Beverly Hills. This normally didn't happen in Beverly Hills. This was the most exclusive, exquisite area code in the world. Everyone knows Beverly Hills. If you live in Paris, France, you know Beverly Hills, and things like this often do not occur. But two parents were brutally murdered in their home while they were sitting down watching TV. The police arrived at the crime scene. They didn't know who did it, why it happened, who to look for. However, Lyle Eric knew who committed this crime, but the police did not think it was them. This murder was an expression of hatred towards two people. This crime scene was extremely brutal for even seasoned detectives. But why did it happen? The police were at a standstill. Who could have viciously murdered these two people? At the beginning, Lyle and Eric were not even on the police's radars. They didn't think Lyle or Eric had anything to do with this crime scene. It was said that the police didn't even test the boys' hands for gun residue. It was also said that the boys were allowed to go in and out of the house. It was also said that police allowed Eric to go to his car, pop the trunk, and inside of that trunk, it was said there were shell casings. No one believed it, but I'm going to pause right there. I can almost guarantee you that if someone calls the cops today and says, I just arrived home and my parents have been shot and killed, I can almost guarantee you that the cops, when they show up, will test your hands for gun residue. Whoever was in that house, they are going to figure it out. Because as I told you in the past, cops like to work from the inside out. But in this case, no one dreamed it was the boys. So the boys weren't looked at as suspects in the beginning. Lyle stated to the cops that his father, Jose Menendez, dealt with very shady characters. So the police detectives start looking into Jose Menendez's business contacts. Who did Jose deal with on a daily basis? Family and friends started to believe that it could have been the mafia, as it was such a brutal crime scene. Everyone was just shocked. No one knew who committed this horrible murder. And the neighborhood, this exquisite neighborhood in Beverly Hills, were terrified. Everyone was terrified. No one knew what was going to happen next in this neighborhood. No one knew who committed this crime and if they were next. These were million-dollar homes, beautiful homes that a couple was brutally shot and killed in. This was literally a nightmare on Elm Street. Lyle and Eric's behavior at their parents' funeral struck people as very odd. Lyle gets up to the podium and reads a letter from Jose, and the letter states that he had love and pride for his sons. And it was said that Lyle didn't even get emotional. It was also said that Lyle made the comment that his father, Jose Menendez, told him that he could never fill his shoes. And Lyle says, guess what? I'm wearing my father's shoes today. And another thing that struck people as odd was Eric Menendez co-wrote a screenplay with his best friend Craig about a son that murders his parents for a multi-million-dollar inheritance. And it was also said by Craig that Eric Menendez confessed to him about killing his parents just days after the crime. The police were very shocked about the boys' behavior, about their behavior after the murders. The boys went on a shopping spree. The boys went to Rolex and spent $15,000 on 3 Rolex watches. It was said that Lyle Menendez bought a $64,000 Porsche and Eric bought a Jeep Wrangler. It was also said that Lyle Menendez bought a restaurant. It was also said that Eric Menendez did not go to UCLA. Instead, he spent $50,000 a year and hired this wonderful tennis coach in hoping to go pro one day in tennis. But I'm just going to pause right there and say this. When people have a loss in the family, not everyone reacts the same. Not everyone. Just like when people are depressed, some people go on eating binges and some people don't eat. Sometimes when people have a death in the family, to get their mind off of things, they may go shopping or they may do other things. So just remember that not everyone copes in the same way. So in my opinion, that didn't strike me as odd. It did strike me as someone who wanted to get their mind off of things. So what helped them was to go shopping. In my opinion, it was more of a coping mechanism for Lyle than it was to Eric. I believe that Lyle spent money because he was trying to cope about what happened with his parents. Several of you have messaged me and said, Anne Marie, the boys were 21 and 18. They didn't have to endure this abuse anymore. They could have just walked out the house. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No one should kill anyone. Absolutely. They could have chosen a different path. However, these 2 boys were micromanaged by their parents on a daily basis. Everything was controlled. Everything. Eric couldn't even pick the college he wanted to go to. Lyle was 21 years old and had to ask if he could go somewhere when he was living at the house. Nothing made sense. These boys couldn't do anything. So if they leave the house because they don't want to be abused anymore and they don't want to be in their father and mother's presence anymore, where were they going to go? They had no money. They had no place to live. Everything was paid for by their parents. So they didn't know how to live without that. It was very sad that these kids felt in their minds that the only way they were going to get out of this was to murder their parents. They knew if they walked out of the house that police would not believe them. They felt no one would believe them. So they could not just leave and walk out. Yes, could they have chosen that path? Absolutely. Absolutely. No one deserves to be murdered. However, these boys thought this was their only choice. And I'm going to give a trigger warning right now. This is a very disturbing subject that I'm about to discuss that may have happened. In the summer of 1989, Lyle's girlfriend Christy tells Lyle that she is pregnant. Lyle says that they were going to get married and have their own family. However, Jose Menendez found out and went see Christy and intimidated her into ending her pregnancy. It was also said that Kitty Menendez told one of her friends that Jose paid Christy $100,000. It was said that Kitty and Jose Menendez told Lyle that he was going to end his relationship with Christy. Lyle was absolutely devastated, but he felt he had no choice in the matter. His parents controlled everything he did. And remember, trauma completely rewires the brain. And these two boys were in a fight or flight situation. They didn't know what to do. They wanted the abuse to stop. And what has happened in the weeks leading up to this murder? Think about it. Think about how traumatized these two boys are. Lyle has to end his relationship with his girlfriend, and it was said she also had to end her pregnancy. And it was said by Eric that he was still getting SA'd. These two kids were very traumatized and scared of what was going to happen to them. Everything was closing in on them and they did not know what to do. They were in a terrible position and they wanted everything to just go away and stop at this point. At this time, Eric Menendez, the younger brother, was having several issues about the murder of his parents. Eric Menendez needed to talk about the murders, but Lyle Menendez didn't want to talk about the murders. Eric Menendez was feeling very terrible about what he did to his parents and needed to let it out. At this time, in October of 1989, Eric is still seeing the psychologist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. As you remember in part 2 of the Menendez videos that I covered, I mentioned that Dr. Jerome Oziel was going to be a key witness in this case. Eric Menendez is having very bad thoughts at this time and is thinking about ending his life. He calls up Dr. Oziel and tells him he needs to see him. Eric arrives at his office and tells Dr. Oziel that he and Lyle murdered their parents. Dr. Oziel convinces Eric to call Lyle and tell Lyle to come to his office. Lyle gets to the office, and as you can imagine, Lyle's very upset that Eric told Dr. Oziel, but Eric needed to get it out. He needed to talk about what he and Lyle did. And all while this is happening, all while the boys are confessing, Dr. Oziel's alleged mistress, Judaline Smith, is listening at the door. And Dr. Oziel, let me tell y'all, is a horrible person in my opinion. Whatever your patient tells you is privileged information that you are not supposed to tell anyone. But it was said that Dr. Oziel told his mistress, Judaline Smith. After this, in November of 1989, Eric's best friend Craig, remember his best friend, the one that he wrote the screenplay with, that he supposedly told that he killed his parents? He went to the cops in November of 89 and told the cops that Eric had confessed to him. The cops told him to wear a wire and to go see Eric. Craig goes see Eric to obtain information about the murders, thinking that Eric would say something about the murders and why he killed his parents. But Craig was unable to obtain any information from Eric about the murders. And in December of 1989, Dr. Jerome Oziel convinces Lyle and Eric Menendez to allow him to tape their conversations. Now, even when I was a child and I first heard about this case in the 90s, I always knew there was some type of lady involved, and that's why the Menendez brothers were caught. But who was this person? Who was Judaline Smith, the alleged mistress of Dr. Jerome Oziel? Well, it was said that Julian Smith met Dr. Oziel in June of 1989. It was said that Julian Smith at the time owned a tape duplicating company, and she proposed to Dr. Oziel that they sell tapes of him discussing psychology. It was also said they met because Julian Smith needed a therapist and started seeing Dr. Oziel as a patient, but she stopped seeing Dr. Oziel as a patient because she couldn't afford the $150 an hour sessions. However, they met. It was said that a steamy affair started between Julian Smith and Dr. Jerome Oziel. And I'm going to pause right there. If you are a doctor, you are not supposed to have any type of relationship with your patient. No relationship at all. So there was another red flag of Dr. Jerome Oziel. And another thing, like I told y'all in part 2 of this of the Menendez video. Remember when I told y'all that Dr. Oziel signed a document that was written by Jose Menendez that everything Eric Menendez told him was going to be relayed back to Jose Menendez? That is terrible. Dr. Jerome Oziel, in my opinion, was terrible in the sense that he could have been having a steamy affair with an alleged patient of his, and that he was giving privileged information about his patient to another person. This is wrong in so many ways, but Julian Smith had all of this information. But what was Julian Smith going to do with all this information? It was said that Julian Smith was afraid to be at home alone after hearing about the Menendez case. So in mid-December of 1989, Dr. Oziel moves Julian Smith into his home with his wife and kids. And I'm going to pause right there. If that was my man, he would not be allowing his patients to move into our home with our children. No way. But that's another red flag for Dr. Oziel. I don't want to get into him. According to Julian, it was not romantic and was only supposed to be for 2 days, but ended up being 3 months. She claims the two had relations while she was there. Julian also says that her and Dr. Oziel's wife were friends. However, Dr. Oziel's wife says that was not true, and they all felt like hostages in their own home while Julian Smith was living there. Julian Smith also says that if she ever wanted to leave, Dr. Oziel threatened her and said he was going to commit her to a mental hospital. Dr. Oziel claims that Julian Smith said, "If you ever make me leave, I will take my life and expose the Menendez brothers." In March of 1990, Dr. Oziel has enough and breaks up with Julian Smith. And on March 5th, 1990, Julian Smith walks into the police station and says, not only does she know that Lyle and Eric Menendez confessed to killing their parents to her boyfriend, Dr. Jerome Oziel, but there were taped confessions of them telling Dr. Oziel about the murders. At this time, police officers get a search warrant. They go straight to Dr. Oziel's home, where they are looking to retrieve records and taped confessions from the Menendez brothers. On March 8, 1990, Joseph Lyle Menendez is arrested at his parents' mansion in Beverly Hills. While Lyle is being arrested, Eric Menendez is at a tennis tournament in Israel. On March 11, 1990, Eric Galen Menendez is arrested upon his arrival in LA. Right now, I want to discuss the day before the murders, August 19, 1989, as I believe this should be discussed. On that day, the family decides to take a boat trip. They are going fishing or hunting for sharks. Eric says that on the way to the marina, it is complete silence. No one says anything, the boys nor the parents. Eric says they arrive at the marina and they step onto a boat called Motion Picture Marine. The captain says the boys go straight to the bow of the boat, the front of the boat, and Jose and Kitty Menendez go inside the boat toward the back of the boat. Eric and Lyle believe their parents are taking them out to sea to murder them, as just days before, Lyle threatened Jose to expose him if he wouldn't leave Eric alone. The boat captain says the trip was extremely strange. And it was said that Kitty Menendez was extremely upset that there were other people on the boat. Why should she care? Why should she care who was on the boat or who wasn't on the boat? It was also said by the captain that the waves became very rough and the boys were getting soaked on the boat, and it was extremely cold, and the waves were cold, and the water was cold. But the boys never left the bow of the boat. They stayed right there, never tried to warm up, never went get a towel, just kept getting wet. They just kept their distance from their parents, which says a lot to me. Why didn't they want to be in the presence of their parents on this boat? For what reason? And according to the boys and the boat captain, there wasn't really any fishing. No one really wanted to learn about shark fishing. The boat captain says it was a very weird experience. And according to the boys, they never realized what was the point of this fishing trip. What was supposed to happen on this trip? No one knows, but it wasn't to learn about sharks, in my personal opinion. My final thought, I always give y'all my final thought. And my final thought is, in my personal opinion, I do believe something was supposed to happen on that boat trip. I do believe on August 19th, 1989, when they took that boat out, something was going to go down. I don't know what, but why would a family of four step onto this boat and go in complete different sections of the boat? Why would the boys immediately go to the bow of the boat, the front of the boat, and why would the parents go inside of the boat toward the back? It just seems there was so much distance. And don't y'all think this should be a family experience? Don't y'all think that if Jose Menendez wanted to take his family on a boating trip, they should all be together, fishing and learning about water? I mean, I don't know who would want to go shark fishing or shark hunting. I'm not doing that. I mean, I don't know if I ever told y'all, but I'm terrified of water. I'm not a water person. But anyway, if this was a family trip, why were they so distant with each other? Something was going to happen, in my opinion, that day. And the boys were terrified of their parents at this point. Terrified. Remember, Jose Menendez had told Eric Menendez, if you ever tell anyone, especially Lyle, I will kill you. And what did Eric do? Eric finally confessed to his brother Lyle what was going on because he wanted it to stop. And both boys figured out that their parents brought them on this boat to do something to them. But nothing happened that day. But I believe something was supposed to happen. And in the next video, part 4 of the Menendez brothers, I'm going to discuss the trial of the Menendez brothers. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope that y'all like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne Marie. And as always, stay safe, always be aware of your surroundings, and always know that I'm here for you. And I also want to thank you all very much for all your input on this case, for all the comments, for all the support. I truly appreciate it. And for you, I am truly grateful. I love all of you, and I will see y'all next Wednesday for part 4 of the Menendez brothers. I love you. Bye.